I'd like to share with you a favorite story that I like to tell around trails. A story that happened to my family some years back, where we headed out to a remarkable place called Reunion Island. This is a remote island deep in the Indian Ocean, a place with extinct volcanoes, active volcanoes, and very, very steep terrain. We'd been planning this trip for some months, and all of us in the family, avid hikers, looked forward to having this trail experience. It was going to be a simple trail. It was supposed to be very short. We were going to walk to a refugio in the mountains with a beautiful view, where we were going to find warm beds and a hearty meal with good company. We picked up our trail map from the tourism office, and we headed out to what was described to us as the start of the trailhead. We got there, we found a beautiful little sign and a simple pathway that led into the bush. And we took it. But an hour in, we noticed that we were just descending. This was a trail that was fairly steep and just going down, 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 down. And you can see from this picture pretty much the nature of the terrain that we were walking through on Reunion Island. An hour and a half in, we realized we were really far down in this old extinct volcano. And the place we were supposed to be getting to should have been on a higher ridgeline with beautiful views, right? So the sort of warning bells were starting to ring. Luckily, around the next corner, we met some French hikers, a young group of students. And we kind of confronted them and said, is this map correct? We're kind of a little concerned here. The walk we were doing was only supposed to be 2 hours. So we weren't prepared with overnight food or, warm clothing. We were going to be in a place where we would get all of that. The French students assured us we had the right map, we were on the right trail, we were heading in the right direction. So we carried on. Soon, 2 hours later, it was heading towards sundown, and there was no way we were getting out of this canyon. We came across another party who were clearly lost, but didn't want to admit it. In the end, our family and some of these other hikers were benighted for the night. None of us had food, none of us had extra water, none of us had extra clothing of any kind. And at midnight, one of our party contracted hypothermia. He was lucky to get through the night. The next morning, we managed to walk out the steep 2,000-meter ascent back out of this cirque. And if you asked my family, was that a good trail? Can we really say that one trail is better than another? Well, the experience was interesting, because if you asked my family, you would have got 5 different answers. My mother would have said it's a terrible trail, because she was expecting a short 2-hour walk. My father would have been thrilled, because he loves an adventure that comes unexpected. It would have worked for him. And as for us kids, well, we just felt we were outdoors, it was great fun, and a hell of a memory to take back that we can reflect on. But my question for you this afternoon is, can we really say one trail is better than another? We can't, because it's a subjective thing. A trail is dependent on what we expect as individual trail users. And if those expectations are met, we're going to have a good experience. We hope. So I'm going to speak to you this afternoon about the idea of trail auditing in tourism, and specifically for tourism-related trails. Because the idea of auditing trails, the question is, can it make those trails more appealing to potential users? Can it make them safer and more sustainable ecologically as well? One of the big questions that my reflection on this experience we had many years ago on the trail in Reunion was, is the trail what it says it is in the guidebooks or on some app or on the web? And should we be trusting any of the data that is put forward to us on blogs or other places like Facebook, where it's very subjective? This is often the kind of scenario you can see, and they never put pictures like this in a guidebook or on any of the apps. But oftentimes you can go to a trail, and this is the scenario that you're going to find. So you're not always assured what the current status of a trail is using the technology we currently have. A trail responsibly managed can offer a better and safer experience for the trail users. A trail is a good trail when it is environmentally sustainable and also meets the trail user's expectations. My question to you is, what if we applied an objective, scientific approach to trail verification? So today we find, as I've mentioned, we've got all these different platforms. You can find information on 100-odd different apps about trails that you can download and check. A lot of that information is route-related, so really giving you a good description of the directions or the route that you're taking following a GPS. But a lot of the data that's missing sometimes is more around the infrastructure, the status of the facilities. Are they safe? Are they working even? And is the trail actually under active management? That means, are there trail managers out there on a regular basis, making sure that the trail is open and safe? In tourism, assurance of the expected experience results in more willing tourists and happier users. This is a big challenge for us, especially when we're going to travel to a foreign country where the culture might be different, the culture of trails might be different, the signage system might be different. We're not necessarily assured that we're going to find what we're looking for. And so some form of verification or some kind of quality trail standards mark can help the tourist with that assurance that they can find a trail that is perfect for them. This is a wonderful trail in Nepal. And when you look at the guidebook, it describes this as one of the world's great trails. But when you get there and you start walking it, you want to walk on a track like this for a good day and a half. That's not a great trail experience by any standards. But if you're aware that this is what you're going to encounter, at least you're prepared for it. And that ensures that your experience on the trail is going to be a good one in some sense. So some years back, 15 years ago, Professor Leon Hugo from the University of Pretoria in South Africa, which is where I am from, developed a system called the Green Flag Trails Eco-Label and a quality mark for trails. It came about because in our country, one of the challenges we had was we had a lot of private trails being developed. Farmers who have land wanting to get into the ecotourism sector would simply take a spade, cut a trail through the mountains or through their veldt, as we call it. The prairie in America would be a similar kind of biome. And they would have a trail, and they'd start marketing it. No assessment of the landscape was done, no real planning, no proper trail design, and they would start marketing this thing, and people would come and have really poor trail experiences. So the idea for the Green Flag Trails as an eco-mark came out of that space. But it also came out of the space that in our agencies, many of our trail managers were not being held account to any standards. So like many countries around the world, South Africa does not have adopted trail standards that are adopted at a national level. So there's no standards that any one agency needs to meet in respect of our trail facilities or our trail infrastructure. So this is how Professor Hugo then came up with this concept of the Green Flag Trails as a tool to encourage good management, to reward good management, and to also assist the public in making informed decisions, that if a trail had been verified by Green Flag Trails to be what it says it is, that they could trust that information to be correct, and they would likely have a good experience. The question is, why are quality trails important? And why is it important to have some kind of verification mark that affirms that? First of all is the value that's given to trail users. There's pride in product for the trail managers, knowing that they are managing and are responsibly managing a trail that is well maintained. Increased income for that trail if it charges a permit fee or anything like that. Savings on maintenance. And increased safety is the big one. Some of the things that the Green Flag Trail system looks at as far as trail quality goes are facilities. We assess the health and cleanliness of those facilities, safety and security in relation to the trail, signage and grading, verifying that the signage is accurate and appropriate for the nature of the trail, and of course maintenance. How does it work? The system is really simple. Professor Hugo, who started this, is now in his late 70s. He's a paper-based guy, so everything is on forms that you can fill in, and it is done by certified trail auditors. These are people who essentially have been trained to find those very rare things that we call trail eyes. And I know today that trail eyes are something that a lot of us have cultivated through our own careers over time, but there's a lot of technology out there that's looking to replace those trail eyes, and potentially very effective technology at helping us assess trail infrastructure, the actual nature of the pathway, using LiDAR systems. Green Flag Trails has been designed to be simple, easy, and useful. So an audit on a trail using the system can be done by various types of people. One is a self-audit by the trail owner. The other is having an external Green Flag Trail auditor come and do it for you. That obviously costs some money. And or otherwise a volunteer auditor, which is a trail user. Each one of those has different levels within the system that can allow for more weighted, appropriate value given to it. So the self-audit came about because what we found in our country, for instance, was that it was costly, and many of the trails in our agencies didn't have the extra budget to pay for an external auditor to come and verify their trail. And so by giving them an option to do a self-audit, which doesn't then receive a Green Flag certification, but receives accreditation, is one way for them to do that. And that feeds into their management plans and models. The system has 86 assessed features, or more. So it's designed to be customizable to any region depending on the standards that are adopted by that particular region. For instance, in the United States, one would have here is your trail management objectives as the guidelines for the agencies around your trail infrastructure. And there might be features on there that might not feature in Green Flag, or Green Flag may have features that don't really feature there. So it's a customizable and adaptable system. This is a list of some of the features. It's a bit difficult to read, I apologize for that, but we look at things like path surface obstructions, constructions, path disruptions. We look at the layout of the trail, what type of route is it, the fauna and flora of the region, points of interest along the route, signage, facilities, and a very big one is risk. So one of the things that Green Flag does is a risk assessment of the trail. The system is collaborative, open source, and customizable. We have developed a Green Flag system for Nepal in the Himalayas and worked very closely with them because their trekking trails, they have a very different characteristics and features that are specific to that region. So we are in the process of turning this into a more digitized operating sort of application that will be usable by both trail users at a limited level, by certified auditors, as well as agency trail managers. One of the things, in keeping the simplicity of the system, we look at the identified feature, so it's very easy to pull from a drop-down menu, and it's almost designed as well that this can be used by people who might not have great literacy, in that through icons it's easy to identify the different features of the trail. We then grade it on severity, the impact of that particular feature, and any extent of the impact that might be on that feature. A GPS location is taken, a photograph, and any additional notes. It's a very simple system. Green Flag Trails has been tested in multiple countries as case studies around the world, particularly in Southern Africa where it was developed and where it's actively used by many of our agencies, our national parks and our regional parks. It has been tested in Peru as well on a trail there, and in Nepal, and most recently in Hungary. It's a systematic and independent examination of a trail to measure its stated safety, facilities, and construction standards. So the system really focuses on the stated standards that that trail is needing to achieve. Many of the audit results come out in a very comprehensive report that is easy then for management to take and turn into or apply to certain management plans. It also offers an accurate information source for apps and other platforms. So today when we go and look for information on a trail, we can go to a blog, we can go to that scary place called Facebook, we can go to other applications, and oftentimes the information can be a little bit misleading, or it can just be copied and pasted, and there's errors in one place that get repeated in other platforms. So Green Flag becomes a space that helps verify the data and information of a trail, the description of a trail even, that can give the agency more assurance of saying, when we put this out there, this is the official stance or description of what this trail is and what it offers. Sustainable trails, just briefly, aspire to ecological safety and responsibility. Experientially, they need to be satisfying. Financially viable is a big one, and we're finding this more and more, in particular in emerging countries or third world countries that are emerging economies. Socially pleasing and enjoyable is an important aspect of a trail. Cultural sensitivity as well builds into that sustainability side. Community uplifting, we've spoken a bit in this symposium already about connecting communities and how important that is, and educationally enlightening. The World Trails Network has taken on to endorse and engage with the Green Flag Trail system. We see it as a way to assist many different trails around the world in improving their tourism marketing capacity. And it speaks to our three primary focus areas as a global organization, which is to perpetuate trails, preserve trails, and to promote trails. And with this diagram, you can see briefly there some of our international task teams that focus on those three objectives in more detailed manner. And Green Flag Trails, we find, sits squarely in the space of preserving trails and promoting trails. So if you are interested in learning more about this system and are maybe interested in perhaps training as a Green Flag auditor or helping us take it to the next level, we have an opportunity in later this year, in late August, early September, to train in Greece, where we will be holding the first international training with attendees from 16 different countries around the European region. So that is one opportunity to go and walk the trails of Kithra Island and to assist them in auditing some of their trails as a trial. And they've taken on to employ this system because they see the value in it in meeting their tourism objectives, in particular in assuring the German market and the French market of the sustainability and accuracy of the trails that one can find in Greece. Alternatively, you can join us at the World Trails Conference next year in Nepal, where we will be showcasing some of the Green Flag trails that have been audited and done there, and get an appreciation for how the system works in diverse locations, and in particular with the trekking trails, which are highly complex cultural routes, and how the system has been adapted to meet those needs. I often wonder how we would have made different decisions if we had got to that trail in Reunion Island all those years ago, if we had picked up that map from the tourism office and seen straight away that it had a Green Flag certification, that it had been pre-approved in a sense, or that at least what we knew that that map was the right map for that trail and someone else had walked it. It would have given us a lot more ease that when we felt we were maybe off route, we would have known, hang on, we can maybe be assured that this information is okay and maybe pushed further. But also, if we hadn't had a Green Flag status on that trail, we might have been a little bit more cautious then and less risky in pushing further when we started noticing that things maybe weren't like they should have been. I'd like to end by saying that trails are a pathway to a reimagined humanity. Trails are a catalyst that connect us, not just to each other and to nature, to the elements, to sweat, to adventure, to sustainability, and to relations. Trails are, in my opinion, one of the primary ways in which we become better humans. Thank you very much.